Well, ace investigative journalist Matt Taibbi asked in a dynamite article, is the electoral fix already in? The 2024 presidential race increasingly looks like it will be decided by lawyers, not voters, as Democrats unveil plans for America's first lawfare election. And it's a great pleasure. He's come to join us on the show to talk about this, Matt Taibbi. So, Matt, I gotta say I read most of it. I originally read about it. You make some really tough points. I know you're not a partisan guy. I know you're not a big Trump supporter per se. But it is interesting that Democrats thought Trump was going to blame them for being an insurrection. Now they're blaming Trump. Now they're trying to sabotage the election. Everything is lawfare. Keep them off the ballot. And riff on this, because this is dynamite stuff. Hadn't gotten enough attention, Matt.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Larry. I've been covering presidential elections since 2004. Normally at this time of year, the media is intensely interested in what voters think, and we're out there going from state to state interviewing people about whom they're going to vote for. This year, all of the key battles are going to be taking place in courtrooms. We had the Supreme Court hearing last week about the Colorado case. There were complaints just filed about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's an ongoing battle to keep the no labels third party off the ballot in multiple states. And all of this stuff is designed to make key determinations about who can participate in the elections ahead of the 2024 vote. And there's the possibility exists that, everybody but the major party candidate on the Democratic side will face very, very serious legal challenges ahead of this vote.
Yeah, Biden won't let any primaries. I find that most curious. You know, people refer to 68 when LBJ stepped down because Gene McCarthy sort of upset him in New Hampshire. Believe it or not, I was a kid in those days working on those campaigns. But there are no primaries now. Biden won't let it, which I think is completely undemocratic.
Right, and this is, again, a massively underreported story because for whatever reason, the mainstream press, which should be intensely interested at least in the goings-on of the Democratic Party, didn't seem to care that they essentially disallowed the results of the New Hampshire primary, that they flat out canceled the Florida primary. And, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was slated to run a very well-financed campaign from within the Democratic Party, was essentially forced to run as a third-party candidate because of all of these obstacles. And they're not allowing you to run mount an intramural challenge, and they don't want you to run a third-party challenge, and they're trying to get Donald Trump off the ballot in the Republican Party. So who do they want to run against? It's kind of an interesting question.
It's a very odd thing. You're right. The left feels completely justified usurping the democratic will of the American people in order to, quote, save democracy. And you also mentioned this Transition Integrity Project, TIP, run by Jennifer Granholm and John Podesta. I've known John Podesta forever and ever when I was a Democrat. But it just sounds like they're itching. I know no one's blameless on all sides in politics, but it sounds like the Dems are itching to sabotage the election.
So the Transition Integrity Project was another really, really interesting story, again, underreported. That it came out in the summer of 2020 that there was a group of people who claimed to be deeply concerned that Donald Trump would not leave the White House voluntarily. So they gathered 100 prominent people who included, as you mentioned, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, John Podesta, the former head of the DNC, Donna Brazile, the former head of the RNC, Michael Steele, a number of former defense officials and people in the military. And they had war game exercises to determine what to do if in a series of contested election scenarios. And one of the scenarios involved a clear Trump win in which John Podesta, playing Biden, threatened to secede from the Union rather than go along with the result. And this only got out because somebody leaked it to the New York Times. Otherwise, we would never have heard about it. But this kind of group is apparently constituting again. There was a story in NBC a couple of weeks ago talking about another loose-knit organization that is making kind of plans. And you have to think that they're wargaming similar situations.
All right. Matt Taibbi, there's never enough time in life, but we appreciate your coming on very much. And congratulations on some tough journalism. Really appreciate it. Matt Taibbi, everybody.